There is a specific kind of dread that lives at a Canadian checkout counter in 2025. It is the quiet tightening in your chest as the cashier scans your basket, and the total climbs past $100, then past 120. You look down. Bread, milk, a small pack of chicken breasts, a bag of apples, cheese, coffee. That is the whole haul, and it costs more than a tank of gasoline. 5 years ago, $100 at a Canadian grocery store felt like a respectable weekly run. You walked out with bags hanging off both arms. Today, that same loony stuffed wallet barely covers 3 plastic bags, and one of those bags is mostly produce that will go bad in 4 days. Canadians have a name for who they blame. They blame Galen Weston. They blame Loblaws. They blame what they call the Big Three. In May of 2024, a Reddit forum called Loblaws is Out of Control grew to over 85,000 members and organized a national boycott of every Loblaw-owned banner. The boycott did not bankrupt the company, but it did force one major win. No Frills agreed to scrap its multi-buy discounts. The anger has not faded because the receipts have not gotten smaller. So today we are going to break down what food shopping actually costs in Canada in 2025 across 3 shopping tiers. And we are going to talk about the geography tax that turns a jug of orange juice into a $27 luxury item. Every year, a team of researchers from Dalhousie University, the University of Guelph, the University of British Columbia, and the University of Saskatchewan releases what is called Canada's Food Price Report, the closest thing this country has to an official scoreboard for grocery pain. And the 2025 edition delivered a brutal headline. The average Canadian family of 4 is now expected to spend approximately $16,834 per year on food. That is up roughly $800 from the year before. And that figure assumes the family wastes almost nothing and prepares every single meal at home. No takeout, no restaurant dinners, no forgotten leftovers in the back of the fridge. Food prices in Canada have risen roughly 27% in the last 5 years, more than double the rate of general inflation. And the pressure is not letting up. Meat prices alone climb between 5 and 7%. Chicken, long considered the affordable protein, the safe fallback when beef became unthinkable, is now under threat from a wave of avian influenza that has caused Canadian chicken production to miss its quota for 9 consecutive cycles. A weak loonie against the American dollar is making every imported tomato, every avocado, every winter strawberry more expensive than the year before. And Canada operates under a system called supply management, which artificially controls the price of dairy, eggs, and poultry through government-set production quotas. Economists estimate this single policy costs the average Canadian household between $300 and $444 per year, a hidden tax baked into every block of cheese. So with that as the backdrop, let us walk through the 3 tiers of Canadian grocery shopping and figure out where you actually fit. Tier 1, the discount survivalist. This is where the majority of Canadians now shop, whether they want to admit it or not. The discount survivalist lives at No Frills, Food Basics, Freshco, Maxi, and Walmart. The lighting is harsh. The shelves are pallets. The cashier may not exist. You may be scanning your own bag of onions, while a screen tells you to please return the item to the bagging area. For a single person, shopping carefully at this tier, expect to spend between $75 and $90 per week. That works out to roughly $320 to $390 per month, or about $4,500 per year for one mouth. The strategy is built on 3 pillars. The first pillar is the no-name brand, those famous yellow and black packages with brutally honest labels like beans and cheese. Loblaw has leaned harder than ever into no-name during the affordability crisis, and the savings against national brands can be 20 to 40% on staple items. The second pillar is the flyer. Every Thursday, Canadians who shop at this tier pull up an app called Flip on their phone. Flip aggregates every grocery flyer in your postal code into one searchable screen. You find the lowest price on chicken thighs at any store in town, then hand the cashier the flyer at checkout, and they match the price. This is called price matching, and it is the single most powerful tool a Canadian shopper has. The third pillar is the loss leader. Every week, grocery stores deliberately sell 2 or 3 items below cost, usually milk, ground beef, eggs, or butter, to get you in the door. The smart shopper buys only those loss leaders at that store, then drives to the next one for its loss leaders. Yes, you spend the gasoline, but on a basket of 20 items, the savings can hit $40 to $50. This tier is also where you will hear the word shrinkflation most often. The bag of chips, that used to be 200 grams, is now 175. The roll of toilet paper is narrower. The yogurt container has a deeper dimple in the bottom. The price stayed the same. The product shrank. Tier 2, the mid-tier squeeze. Now we move into the danger zone. The mid-tier squeeze is the shopper. At Loblaws proper, at Sobeys, at Metro, at IGA, at Safeway. For a single person, expect to spend between $140 and $180 per week. For a family of 4, this is where the $16,000 annual figure becomes very real. What makes this tier so dangerous is what I call the loyalty loop. You walk into a Loblaws, and you swipe your PC Optimum card. You walk into a Sobeys, and you swipe your Scene Plus card. These programs are not generous accidents. They are the most sophisticated behavioral data operations in Canadian retail. PC Optimum knows what you buy. It knows when you buy it. And every week, it sends you personalized offers, calibrated almost perfectly to make you spend just a little more. Buy 3 boxes of cereal, get 500 points. Spend $90 on the weekend, get 2,000 points. The points feel like winning. The cumulative spend does not. Meanwhile, the items in your cart at this tier have hit record highs. Butter, once roughly $4 a pound, now routinely sits between $7 and $9. A whole chicken that cost $12 in 2019 now costs between $18 and $22. A 2-liter carton of milk in many provinces is now pushing $6. This is also the tier where multi-buy traps thrive. The sign says 3 for $10. Your brain does the maths, $3.33 each, must be a deal. But check the regular price. It is often $3.49 per item. You just bought 3 of something to save 16 cents. The frustration with this tier is what fueled the Galen Weston backlash. In the first quarter of 2024, Loblaw reported $459 million in profit, a 10% increase year over year in the same quarter that food bank usage hit record levels. 2 million Canadians visited a food bank in March of 2025, double the number from 2019. And 20% of those food bank users were employed. They had jobs. They just could not afford to feed themselves. Tier 3, the premium shopper. At the top of the Canadian grocery ladder sits a tier that most Canadians can only window shop. This is Whole Foods. This is Farm Boy. This is Pusateri's in Toronto, where a single rotisserie chicken can cost $35, and a wedge of imported Parmesan can cost $40. This is where you spend $250 a week, minimum, as a single person, and where a family of 4 can easily clear $500 in a single Saturday shop. There is a phenomenon in Ontario and Quebec known as the Farm Boy cult. Walk into a Farm Boy on a Sunday, and you will see middle-class families lining up at the prepared foods counter, paying $12 for a small container of curry that would cost $6 at a No Frills next door. The lighting is warmer, the staff are friendlier, the produce really does turn over faster. But there is something else going on here that is uniquely Canadian. We live in a country that is frozen for nearly 6 months of the year. The tomatoes on your January plate flew in from Mexico or California or Spain. So, when a Canadian pays a premium at Farm Boy or Whole Foods for produce that looks vibrant and feels fresh, they are not just paying for groceries, they are paying for the illusion of a growing season that their geography does not allow. That is the freshness premium. It is one of the most powerful psychological forces in Canadian retail, because it is selling summer in February. But the cruelest pricing in Canada is not at the top of the market. It is at the top of the country. If you live in Nunavut, in the Yukon, in the Northwest Territories, or in remote communities in northern Quebec and Labrador, you are paying what residents call The geography tax. The 2025 Nunavut Food Price Survey found that the same basket of groceries that cost $132 in Ottawa cost nearly $199 in Nunavut on average. In the Kitikmeot region, that basket hits over $204. And those are the averages. The individual items can be staggering. In the hamlet of Grise Fjord, a single jar of jam was photographed, selling for $35. A jar of pickles for $66. A six-pack of applesauce for $58. A 3.5-liter jug of orange juice in Iqaluit has been spotted at $27. The exact same jug costs under $8 in Ontario. The unsubsidized price for 4 liters of milk in Iqaluit now runs around $30. The federal government runs a program called Nutrition North Canada that provides about $134 million per year in shipping subsidies to northern grocers. In practice, residents argue that very little of that subsidy reaches the shelf, and an independent review is expected to deliver its final report in 2026. Until then, the people of the North continue to pay between 2 and 4 times what Southern Canadians pay for the same item in regions where, according to federal data, between 20 and 50% of residents are already food insecure. So what do you actually do with all of this? If the big three are not going to lower their prices, if supply management is not going anywhere, and if the loonie is not getting stronger, the only option left is to shop smarter than the system. 3 rules consistently work. Rule number 1, shop the flyers, never the aisles. Decide what is on sale before you leave the house. Use Flip. Use the Rebie app. Use the PC Optimum Offers screen. Build your weekly menu around what is discounted, not around what you feel like eating. This single habit will cut a typical Canadian grocery bill by 15 to 25%. Rule number 2, ignore the multi-buy. If a sign says 3 for $10, check the per unit price. If you only need one, buy one. The grocery industry has spent decades training Canadians that bulk equals savings. Most of the time, it equals waste. Rule number 3, use Flash Food and Too Good to Go. These 2 apps have quietly become the most important tools in the Canadian inflation toolkit. Flash Food partners with major chains including Loblaws, No Frills, and Real Canadian Superstore to sell food approaching its best before date at 50 to 70% off. A family-sized pack of chicken thighs for $6 instead of $18. A box of strawberries for $2 instead of $7. Too Good to Go does the same for bakeries and cafes. The selection rotates, but it is real food at honest prices in a country that has forgotten what those feel like. The truth is, the Canadian shopper in 2025 is no longer a customer in the traditional sense. They are an opponent of the system they buy from. Every dollar saved at the checkout is a small act of resistance against an oligopoly that controls roughly 72% of the national grocery market. Shop the flyers, skip the multi-buys, hunt the apps, and next time the cashier rings up your basket, you will at least know exactly where every loonie went, and you will know which ones the big 3 did not get from you. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.